Hey everyone, Sulfur's here today, and I want to go over some positioning with you. There are some fights here that the positioning makes all the difference, and when you watch pros, you'll also notice that they are always really focused on their positioning because it can make a huge difference in fights, and often will make multiple placements throughout the game difference. So being able to secure a win, you really have to have a good position unless you're just that much stronger than your opponent. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. First off, we have a Smolder 3, and then we have this Udyr 3. So I'm in a pretty strong spot. We also have the Lee Sin 1 and the Zyra 1. They have a Karma 2 and a Gwyn 2 with Biss. So they are super strong on top of having this Braum 2. And the Jarvan 2 as well with 3 items. Like, they are incredibly strong. My board really looks kind of weaker to them just because I don't have these upgrades. I don't have the Braum 2, I don't have the Lee 2. So if we look at this fight here, the good thing about my positioning is that I'm not getting destroyed by this Jarvan who's going to hit the largest clump. That is part of the reason why the Zyra plan is up here, is to kind of try to lure Jarvan in this area rather than hitting my Carious Smolder or by hitting my Zyra. We'll have to see if this hits the Zyra or not. However, I am pumping a bunch of damage into this Braum, and by doing that, I'm giving all this a ton of time to be able to take down my front. And I'm not going to get past this Braum, and I'm going to probably lose by a lot of units here. So that's a really big positioning error by me. So let's go ahead and see how this fight plays out. On top of that, my Lee Sin is kind of like in a no man's land. We'll go ahead and start this. Okay, so yep, Smolder is doing all that damage into the Braum, and I'm not really killing anything here. However, my Udyr is very tanky, so he's giving me a little bit more time. The Jarvan didn't hit the Zyra, I don't think, so that was good positioning around Jarvan, which was what I was really focusing on here. However, I'm still going to lose by a couple units. I got a couple at the very end, thanks Smolder. So we'll go ahead and take another look at this. Go ahead and scroll through here until that next positioning. So here I'm doing something kind of similar, but I put more of my damage together. So I moved that Lee Sin, and you can even see that I'm hovering that area to try to bait this Jarvan. However, I was expecting them to switch their Jarvan, they didn't. I'll grab this tool right here. So here, they are on the side of my damage now, which I don't love. I was trying to get away from this Braum because I know that last time that absolutely destroyed me. They kept the same positioning here because it worked for them. You know, not broken, don't fix it, I guess. This Karma also will be hitting this. I have a Bramble on here, so it's kind of a dead item against them to an extent. Not completely dead, but these two items are really good. So generally, I would say that you do want the Smolder on the same side of Karma because you're hoping to be able to pick her off during it. Then we have our Giga Tanks just kind of here in the middle, which is fine. I put my Braum into their Braum. And this plant, though, is not great positioning because it's not really distracting anything. I think I don't want Jarvan, though. Like, maybe it goes here and then Jarvan hits this, but I would rather it not hit my Zyra. But I was hoping to have my Zyra on the same part. So maybe if I put my plant right here and my Zyra right here, then I could get this Jarvan to jump on this clump and not hit my Zyra, would be the ideal scenario there. But let's go ahead and take a look at how this fight decides to play out as we take those off, and we'll go ahead and start. So Karma's pumping damage into this Udyr. We do get our Zyra stunned by the Jarvan, which isn't ideal. However, it looks like it's just enough. The big thing is this Lee Sin wraps. Moving that Lee Sin from being in the center into being able to get on this backline made all the difference in this fight. So we have the dragon, which go through next. I was lucky enough to hit a TG here for my set, which is massive, so we'll go ahead and see what this looks like. I didn't actually change my positioning here. And it was because I was a little bit distracted. I was also streaming. But let's see how that fares for me. First off, they made a really great play, and they put their Braum right in front of my Smolder again. We saw what that looked like last time. We also have the Jarvan here, who hit this clump, including the Zyra, which is bad. This Smolder, yes, it wants to be on the same side of the Karma, but because it has to pump all this damage here and then into the Jarvan, it's not going to fare well for me at all. Their weaker stuff is over here, and my weaker stuff is over here. I would rather have my strong stuff over here to kind of burst through this and then be able to wrap on that backline. Instead, they have a super protected backline, including this Gwyn here. Like, they're just not going to be pressured in this fight at all. It's probably going to go very poorly for me. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that goes. You know, remember that I won the last round. Let's see how this round goes. They also got a third item for their Braum. It looks like a Hodge, which isn't anything incredible. Hey, look, Braum is back on my carry. Lovely, and Gwen's going to cast, and boom, my Smolder is gone. This is how, when you have bad positioning. Look, I lost by 6 units. 6 units. I won the last round, but my positioning was so bad that I lost by 6 units. So the good news is, because I wasn't, you know, completely paying attention, I was like, all right, we'll get a new power up. And also, too, I had so much health to work with, so I'm not getting super punished here. Okay, so this round I decided, okay, I'm going to upgrade my power up from whatever I had before to the bestest boy, which I'm like, okay, hopefully that is enough now. So once again, I don't scout here because I was just trying to figure something else out, and I have 45 health to work with, so I was like, okay, we'll just try this out and see if it works. However, do you think this fight will go well for me? Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, they have a Braum here. I got my Smolder away from Braum was the big thing that I was thinking about. However, I have damage here and damage here, and this Jarvan is going to be hitting right here. This plant positioning is terrible. It should at least be over here to try to draw that Jarvan out. On top of that, this Braum was probably going to wreak havoc. This Karma has free reign to do whatever she wants. Yes, I will be doing damage into some weaker units, like that was the idea here. However, this set rolled damage items, and he's not even really helping out. Like, even the difference of changing this set with this Nefiri to be able to burst down this part of their board faster would help a lot. Instead, Gwen's just going to get free range onto my set, and it's going to make him more useless. So let's go ahead and see how this fight plays out. I'm at 45 health. I still have time, and I was just trying some things, but let's see. So yeah, Gwen's going up and hitting my set for free. Jarvan slam dunks half of my damage on my team. Yes, my Smolder does get to take out a lot of stuff, which is really good. And will it be enough, though, is the question. No, it won't be, because, you know, Karma and this Gwen just do a little bit too much. I lose by 5 units here. So I've now lost by 6 units, and I've lost by 5 units. And I'm not even going to find any upgrades here. So how do I win the game? I have to figure it out how I win now. I'm at 23 health. I can afford to take one more loss in some cases, but I really want to win now. Like, now I'm like, yeah, I'm a little... I'm like, okay, we gotta win this. So we gotta figure it out. What is the key here? And so I'm looking at my positioning, saying like, okay, I have this damage set. Let's go ahead and just put all the damage on the same side. I didn't actually scout like I should, but I was really focused on this part of the puzzle. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this right now. Add this. Okay, so I have my Udyr in front of my Smolder. Good. I have all my damage on one side. Also good. We have this plant with the idea that Jarvan is going to be ulting here. This person, I noticed that whenever they won, they just didn't change their positioning at all. This was like one of their "it's not broken, don't fix it" things. They did that earlier on in the fights, and then when I won, they changed, and then they kept it the same again. So that was part of the reason I didn't scout this person, was because they didn't change anything. And sometimes when you scout, they'll change because they see that you're looking at the board. But sometimes they might assume that you're AFK if you're not looking at their board. So it's kind of a mind game trick here. But let's see, we have all the damage on the same side. We have our tank. They left all their weak units here. So we should be able to essentially just like mow down these units. And the idea is for us to then get access to this backline and get access to this Gwen ideally. This mech isn't going to be doing as much. Big news is, so they are defending their Karma and the Karma with the Jarvan and the Braum. This Braum, if it was moved over to this side, oh, I would be in trouble. I would be in a lot of trouble. However, this Braum, he is he's a carry with these items, and he's a Braum too. He is only going to be messing with these guys. I don't even care about these guys. And this Jarvan also going to be dunking over here, and my Zyra is free to do damage, and my Smolder is free to do damage. My Udyr is able to tank plenty, And these guys are tanky enough where like this Karma isn't going to just burst down my weak line and then wrap back here. Like I have a wrapping option, but they don't, essentially, is what I'm seeing here. And on top of that, this Gwen, these units that she's hitting are useless now. Like she's probably going to be hitting these guys, maybe a little bit of the set, but she's not hitting my Lee, and she's not applying anti-heal to my Giga Tank either. So this looks kind of funny. But their Karma's safe, but essentially I have, like I said, the difference is I have all my damage over here now. We'll go ahead and change this a little bit. Like I said, I got no upgrades. The big thing is that I have my damage dealers over here. I have Smolder, I have Lee Sin, I have my Zyra, and I have my Set. Set because he has these items. This was a big TG roll. So I have all this damage over here, and then I have my Giga Tank as well. And this Giga Tank isn't going to die to anything, and we don't want him to be getting Morello'd, so he is away from this Gwen, which is great. And on top of that, we don't want him in front of the Braum, because Braum will just kind of like push him aside, essentially. So we have this Giga Tank, we are protecting our Smolder. We're not worried about this Karma eating through this too quickly, and Jarvan. Essentially, I know with these items and these carries that I can go through their weak stuff quicker. And then on top of that, I have wrapping potential because I have multiple melee carries. They have one melee carry, so Braum is the only wrapping potential here that could be potentially scary of Braum getting to my Zyra. However, because Braum isn't in front of here, I'm not too worried about it because my Smolder is just able to pump so much damage. If this was traded and if this Jarvan was over here, like if they outpositioned me by putting Braum here and putting Jarvan here and Jarvan gets a Giga ult, and I have to pump all this damage into the Braum, and Karma just goes through here, and she gets, you know, she would get over here real quick. So this positioning is really good for me because they didn't move their Braum, they didn't move their Jarvan, and this was kind of like me playing that mind game of saying like, okay, you know what, I'll just put all my damage on the side and hope they don't move their Jarvan. I have 23 health, you know, I got one more chance. So let's go ahead and see how this plays out. Like 2 more chances with it. So as we expected, we're eating through that right side quick. The Jarvan does ult up here. It doesn't even ult my Zyra, and I'm able to get this Udyr wrapping as well, and they just can't really deal with this Giga Tank in front of them. And boom, we win with 3 units. So we lost with 6 units and then 5 units and then a positioning change, and we win with 3. That's an insane difference. If I don't make those positioning swaps, I always lose this. I get a second instead. So that's why it's so important to be able to swap up your positioning. There are a lot of times where having your damage on the same side can be really good. Like in this case, I'm able to just mow down through all their stuff very quickly, especially when you have melee carries that have the potential to wrap to the back line and then get to the carry. That's when stacking up all the damage together makes a lot of sense. The time where it doesn't make sense is when there's a Jarvan on the board. And like I said, they move this Jarvan to where this Mundo is, and this Braum is where the Swain is. Their front line is just more tanky and more CC than mine. They win that out. But they were very much concerned about protecting this Karma, because having this Smolder on the same side as Karma, and then if he like swaps these tanks, then my Smolder is able to get an execute onto this Karma all the time because he's past level 30. So that's one of the big things, like that's the mind game here. Like, yes, I want my Smolder on the same side as the Karma ideally, however, I can't deal with this Giga Tank, but instead because there's this Giga Tank over here, instead what I do is I put all my damage over here, and then I, you know, am able to kill these off quickly, and then get to the good stuff in the back line. So that's the positioning here. Another big thing is using the Zyra plant to try to bait the Jarvan ults, because I believe it should count as a cluster or a unit. It can even... I didn't really want it to be tank, but if I put it right here, I think I get my Zyra ulted. So that's why it's over here and it looks kind of funny. But using this plant to bait out Jarvan ults is really, really strong. That's why it's not like back here in the corner, with the idea of like, oh, hey, maybe we mess up a Jarvan ult and we win a fight because of that. But yeah, I hope you enjoy my positioning guide, this very brief breakdown of these fights, and I hope to see you for the next one. Bye!